Well, if the Pac-12 is going to act, they have to act like super quickly. And I don't know that they will.
You are Locked On Pac-12, your daily podcast on the Pac-12 Conference. It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On Pac-12. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you so much for making this your first listen or your first view of the day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and your number one source to stay up to date with our media rights and Colorado-free and beloved, somehow, I think, Conference of Champions. Like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, please and thank you wherever you listen to or watch this show. This channel's been, shall we say, busy over the last 24 hours. You may have noticed I had two shows on Wednesday. Didn't do a show yesterday because we were kind of waiting for the news to come out. And there was Wednesday's show that I released late. Everything is crazy right now, but action has got to take place quickly. The Pac-12 has made a statement, and just kind of, recapping my sentiments on where we are. That's coming up on today's show, and we'll see if any news drops today. So that's where I want to start. The sense that I have, and that I think most people have, is that if the Pac-12 is going to survive here, and make no mistake about it, there is a path for them to do that. It is not a guarantee. I don't know that it's an easy path, because right now the Big 12 seems to have a stronger pitch than the Pac, given that the Pac still can't get together a media rights deal. And notice I'm just referring to them as the Pac because Pac-9 sounds weird. There are a couple different animal overlays that I've thought about. Do we have 9 lives like a cat, or are we just a wolf pack whose herd is being thinned by poachers one at a time? I'm going to go with the second one here because it's just a slow, steady, methodical move by everybody else. And we're just kind of sitting there. That's the way it looks. So one of the reasons that I sense a need for urgency is that the Pac-12 just saw Colorado depart. Why did Colorado depart now? Because they wanted stability. They were tired of waiting around. They had been led on too many times about we're going to have a deal. And reportedly Phil DiStefano, the president, and Rick George, the athletic director, they wanted to have a hard deal to at least look at by the Thursday, the day before Media Day last week in Las Vegas. They didn't have one, and that was the final straw that broke the camel's back. Then without telling anybody, they organized this move, at least without telling the Pac-12 presidents. Every indication has been that the Pac-12 presidents, CEO group, and George Kliavkoff were unaware. So they are either not telling us the truth when they say that, they didn't, that, George Kliavkoff said, we're not worried about, it's not a concern, the Big 12 poaching schools. The members met and everybody said they were committed. That obviously was not true. And now everybody's waiting for kind of the next shoe to drop, the next piece of news to come out. And we don't know what that is going to be. We don't know when that is going to be. I have literally been on standby all day because the Pac-12 presidents and CEO and athletic directors and George Kliavkoff, everybody that's important for the future of the conference, they had a meeting earlier today. No word coming out of that meeting on what happened. So we got a statement from the meeting. Whoop-de freaking do. We got a statement. That's all we get. That's all we get over here in the Pac. We get words. We don't get a lot of action. We're going to talk about the statement later in the show. But one of the reasons that I get the sense the Pac has to act quickly here, and I mean within the next 24 to 48 hours, is for some reason, Colorado has already jumped. And even though for months we've been hearing, it's Colorado and Arizona, and Colorado and Arizona's presidents have given the most open to the Big 12 notion comments of anybody in the league. Literally anybody. We've talked about those remarks before. Phil DiStefano, I apologize. I was watching the Colorado Board of Regents meeting yesterday, and I heard them refer to his name like that. I didn't know that was how it's pronounced. I thought it was DiStefano. It's DiStefano. So, which cool name, by the way. Like I'm not being sarcastic. That is a cool name. DiStefano rolls off the tongue. So, Phil DiStefano made a remark a while back, and I think Rick George did as well, basically saying, it was one of them, I forget which. Everything's just blurring together. But basically, at the end of it, they said, well, at the end of the day, we have to do what's in the best interests of Colorado. And I took that as they want to be in the Pac, which they did. That's where they wanted to be. If they'd wanted to be in the Big 12, they would have joined in March or April, not late July. But the Pac has forced their hand because they're trying to usher in a new era with Deion Sanders. They're trying to reshape their identity, their brand, their mission as a football program, and what it can do for their university to have a high-level football program. And they wanted stability. They wanted assurance. But Arizona has left the door open with comments that have been made. Robert Robbins, Lubbock isn't that far away. And we'll have to see what happens with the media deal. But both were in the same mentality, but clearly not, because as I record this show, which is late on Thursday night, dropping in very early Friday morning, Arizona has not left. Now, there's a lot of buzz. There's a lot of speculation. Is Arizona going to be next? Are they going to go? But at this point in time, they haven't gone. So, and Robert Robbins gave a quote after Colorado left on the record. I think it was to Max Olson of The Athletic. I could be wrong on that, but I saw the quote, and he said, yeah, we're still here waiting for the media deal. We want to see what it is. So Arizona is still willing to wait, but I don't know if they're going to be willing to wait any longer, because the indications have been that Colorado chose now because the Big 12 said, yeah, we would like an answer by August 1st because we want to move in that direction. We want to get the ball rolling on all the procedures of joining the conference by July of 2024, which would be about 11 months from August 1st, 2023. There are a lot of logistical components that go into moving conferences and such, and getting ready and accepting them and everything like that. And they want to have time to be able to do that. So if that deadline also applies, now it might not, but if that is the deadline that the Big 12 is looking at here, then Arizona's got to make a decision probably today, unless people are going to make a move on the weekend. I mean, it's not like people never work on the weekend. But do these sorts of moves feel like they're going to get done on a Saturday or a Sunday? Or do you think people are going to make a move, let it hang out there in the blogosphere and internet and everything, and then wipe their hands and say, I'm going to the beach. I'm going to the golf course. Catch you guys later. Talk to you on Monday. That's what I would be doing is, hey, why don't we just finish this stuff up? So if the Pac is going to keep schools like Arizona or Oregon or anybody else who might be interested in the Big 12, Washington, Utah, Oregon State, I don't know, Arizona State, I don't know. We have to wait and see who ends up going, because there are a lot of different ways this could all play out. But if the Pac is going to keep them interested, they have got to be moving quickly. There has got to be a sense of urgency like that which we have not yet seen from the conference. They have not completed the media deal. You got to put something together. You got to put an offer together. And it just needs to be close. Somehow Arizona has not felt forced out of the conference at this point in time the way that Colorado did. Somehow they're still giving you a chance. They're trying to throw you a lifeline. They are begging you to not go into this certain area of the woods where the poachers have got their rifles lined up. And still, this wolf pack of a conference looks like they're just going to march right into that area. And they made a statement. Oh, yeah. I have several thoughts on that. One that is defending the Pac, in a sense. More critiquing a lot of you out there, but kind of defending the Pac. And the second one that is definitely not defending the Pac. Because at some level, boy, some of this stuff gets pretty hard to defend. I don't have to fight very hard to defend LinkedIn Jobs, though, because these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. And I'm going to avoid making a joke about Pac-12 employees that could soon be candidates on LinkedIn Jobs, because I am not that mean. Some of you are. I'm not, though. I wouldn't do that. Like Peyton Manning at the ESPYs. I wouldn't say that. But you would be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available if you check out LinkedIn Jobs. Because LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Go in there, create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs, add your job to the purple hashtag hiring frame, or add your job to LinkedIn Jobs, then add the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on the candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. I got to be honest with you all. That was one of the most badly needed second segment sips in recent memory. I've done a lot of talking today. I was on a couple shows. I hosted a 3-hour radio show. I've recorded shows. We've been flexing the vocal muscles, shall we say, so to speak. So the Pac-12 releases this statement. Here's what it says. The Pac-12 is comprised of world-leading universities and athletic programs who share a commitment to developing the next generation of leaders supporting student-athletes, academic and athletic excellence, and broad-based athletic success. I mean, I'm trying to think of the right historical comparison as I read this, like Nixon's resignation statement, maybe? I don't know. We remain committed to our shared values and to continuing to invest in our student athletes. Today's decision by the University of Colorado has done nothing to disrupt that commitment. Okay. Nothing? We are focused on concluding our media rights deal and securing our continued success and growth. I hope so. Immediately following the conclusion of our media rights deal, we will embrace expansion opportunities and bring new fans, markets, excitement, and value to the Pac-12. Okay. Before I go on the other side of this, where a lot of you already are, which is tearing this to shreds of sorts, let me defend the Pac here. Spencer, you're such a Pac homer. I share my honest opinions. You can judge me however you want. I frankly do not care. But this is how this show works. I read and react to the news, and I shed insight and share opinions on the matter and try and potentially forecast what could happen next, of which there are a variety of scenarios. So the defense that I have of the Pac here is that this statement gets released, and it's the fourth such statement we've seen from the conference in the last several years. They all said basically the same thing. The schools that we have remaining are committed to our vision. We're going to continue to work on our media rights. So nothing has changed on that front. But everybody was reading this statement, and they were going berserk. I mean, it was, oh my gosh, what is happening? The Pac is so dumb. How could they say this? How could they? Okay. Any of you who had that reaction, any of you, I want you, not in the YouTube comments, because those are getting like a little bit crazy and such, and it's easy for me to miss stuff on there from time to time. Any of you who had that reaction, I would like you to DM me a statement at smalls_55. It's right there on the YouTube banner here, or at LO_Pac-12. I want you to go into my direct messages. Don't do mentions, because again, those can get crazy too. Go into my direct messages, which are wide open for anybody and everybody. And I want you to send me, word for word, a statement that you would have wanted the Pac-12 to give that would have made you react in a positive way to make you feel differently about the situation at hand. And I asked some of you to do this because I am then going to respond with a knee-jerk YouTube commenter, tweeter reaction that inherently paints the conference in a negative light. The point of this particular exercise that I am trying to drive home, as some of you might be realizing, yeah, what would I say? Gosh, what would I do? Is that there is nothing that the Pac-12 can put into a statement that changes a damn thing. There's nothing they can put in there. Oh, you should have more urgency. Then they're going to get ripped for being unrealistic. The conference is in a place right now where they are, I don't know why I'm so itchy all of a sudden, but the conference is in a place right now where they are completely vulnerable, open to attack, both in the press, on social media, and from other conferences, hint, hint, the Big 12, of course, who are reportedly, according to Brett McMurphy, going to pursue 1 to 3 more expansion candidates. They're not done going big game hunting in the Pac. But there is no statement that you can give that change the facts on the ground. You said, look at all these, statements of unity and everything like that, and they didn't do anything. Is it your interpretation of the last year and change of this whole media rights saga that if the Pac-12 had worded statements better, if they'd been more aggressive in the tone of words that they put out publicly, that are just out there to let people know we are still trying to make it work as a conference, if those statements had been worded differently, would that change the reality the Pac is trying to deal with right now, which is they are in the ER? They're in the ICU for survival at this point in time. Is that your opinion? Is that your take? Because it's not my take. There is no statement the conference can realistically make that would not have drawn criticism because they were going to draw it anyway. So then, once you put anything out there, and this is probably why they haven't made that many statements in the past several months, because they know that it can just be a constantly losing proposition when your conference is in a disadvantaged position compared to the other leagues in the country, which they are. So I read this statement and I was like, oh, yeah, that's what you put out. And I see everybody and their mother and their grandmother and everybody with a Twitter account that I could possibly get to have show up on my timeline just tearing this thing. This is pathetic. This is terrible. This is how we got here. This is not how we got here. Statements that don't mean anything one way or the other are not how we got here. The actions of the current and previous administrations, that's how we got here. What Larry Scott did laid the groundwork for the LA schools to leave. And the Pac-12 hasn't been able to get a media deal done, and that's why Colorado left. It's been all on the conference leaderships, and the conference presidents deserve some of the blame here, because what do we always say? For all my everydayers out there, presidents drive realignment. I am putting it on my gravestone when I die. They are the bosses collectively of every commissioner who bears plenty of responsibility himself, both of them. Larry Scott, George Kliavkoff deserve a lot of criticism. I've been willing to give George Kliavkoff the benefit of the doubt until things started to play out. Well, guess what? Things are starting to play out, and it's not good. It is not good whatsoever. But to act like the statement needs to be worded differently, and like that change a couple words and phrases or change the tone, and like that changes the reality. No, I'm done with words. I've been done with words and statements for months. I've long described it as Lucy Brown in the football. Charlie Brown's running up to kick it. She keeps pulling it away. That's what the media deal was. So I stopped falling for all of that sort of stuff. And when George Kliavkoff at Pac-12 Media Days was saying, we feel there will be an announcement in the near future, we feel this, I sat there and said, great, don't care. I'm not getting excited. I literally started on this show, and still have in my notes, by the way, in the off chance the Pac-12 was able to cobble together this sort of media deal. Or some sort of media deal. I have no idea what it would be, but in the off chance they're able to do that, I literally started a contest or a game here on the show which you can be a part of. It's kind of hard. By the way, DMs are easier. YouTube comments are a zoo at the moment for me to try and keep up with. Doing my best, but they're kind of hard. Of people just playing pin the tail on the calendar of what date is the Pac-12 media deal going to drop. And everybody gets a date, and whoever wins gets a shout out here on the show. Because that's where I've gotten to with this deal. I don't put any weight behind statements. I don't know why everyone was having this visceral reaction. My reaction is to people's reaction to the statement. Everybody was going nuts over it. I'm like, it's nothing. It means nothing one way or the other. It doesn't change the reality of the situation, and it doesn't change the Pac-12's attempt to cobble together a media rights deal to figure out expansion and try to move forward as a conference. There was one line in there that is indicative of a mistake that the Pac-12 does need to, I think, avoid and appears to have cost them at this point in time. You will not be penalized if you check out eBay Motors, though, because for a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. Colorado feels like they fit just right in the Big 12, and that's what your car needs. Every par's got to fit seamlessly. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. It's that simple, because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. Confidence is the name of the game in Realignment. Pac-12 doesn't have a lot of that right now. And guess what? They're fighting to survive. With over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride eBay. Gosh almighty. I'm on a heater tonight. By the way, I'm curious when I wake up how many of you will have watched this, because I'm scheduling this to go live in like the wee hours of Friday morning. And I'm just picturing however many of you just up late at night, super into the morning on the computer, watching or listening to the show. Thank you for doing so. I very much appreciate it. The show's been getting a lot of traction over the last few days, and I'm glad that you have chosen to make the show a part of your day. So, the one thing in the statement that I thought stood out that I don't understand, and look, that rant of defending the Pac-12 turned into ripping it pretty quickly. But the one thing that I noticed in there is in the last paragraph, we are focused on concluding our media rights deal and securing our continued success and growth. Immediately following the conclusion of our media rights deal, we will embrace expansion opportunities and bring new fans, markets, excitement, and value to the Pac-12. Have we learned nothing? Why is it? And look, I can't answer this question. Only George Kliavkoff and the presidents can. Why is it every single other conference announces expansion teams and gets a deal done later? Why is it that we are having to do it backwards? And why is it that at a time in which I have been adamant and remain steadfast in this belief that there is no world in which the Pac-12 can exist with 9 teams, even for one season, expansion is a requirement for the league to survive. You have to add at least one for 2024. Theoretically, you could technically stay at 10 going forward, but I wouldn't advise it. But you could go one team for 2024 to be at 10, maybe SMU, and then figure out your top 2 targets for 2025 and beyond: San Diego State and insert other team. Colorado State, UNLV, Tulane, Boise, Fresno State, Memphis, South Florida. I don't care. But why is it that everybody else expands and then gets a deal, and the Pac-12 is just dead set on, we're going to get our media deal done, and then we'll expand? I legitimately don't have that explanation. I mean, all throughout the months leading up to the San Diego State June 30th deadline, I was asking the question, and my answer at the time was, look, they know that San Diego State and SMU are going to say yes if they offer. Fact check true. Now fact check not as true for San Diego State because they didn't get it done in time. But up to June 30th, that was true. So I was saying, well, why spend time on that and going through all the details and logistics and media and everything? You need to focus on the media rights deal. And that's what they were doing. And that didn't work out very well. It worked out pretty poorly, as a matter of fact. So I'm sure many of you wonder the same thing. Why can't they expand first? I don't know. I do not know, because they're the Pac. That's why. And it is frustrating in that statement that, again, I didn't have a visceral reaction to, like many of you did. I reacted to the reaction that many of you had. But I did just throw my hands up, like when the Joker is trying to blow up the hospital and he's pressing the explosion in what is actually an improvised scene and the greatest acting performance I've ever seen. Heath Ledger's the Joker, R.I.P. He throws his hands up, he just, But then it goes boom for the Joker. But are things going to go boom here for the Pac-12? Better do so quickly. Because I just don't see Arizona continuing to be patient. And they have always said they want to see the deal first. They want to see what the Pac-12 is. I think that's entirely logical. To say, I want to know what the offer is actually going to be and whether or not we're better off in this conference or that one. But I also understand Colorado wanting the assurance of, it's been this long. Why are we going to keep allowing ourselves to be strung along just so you can say, no, we suffered another delay, another setback or something? So George Kliavkoff's remarks at Pac-12 Media Day, not looking so hot right now. Our schools are going to be rewarded for their patience. Really? Rewarded with what? A new home? So I'm at the point now where words, quotes, comments, don't care. About that action, boss. Who said that? I gotta Google that. Hold on. About that action, boss. Marshawn Lynch. Oh, how did I forget that? I'm a doofus. I'm a Seahawks fan. He's about that action, boss. That's what the Pac-12 needs to be about. I wish they would go and prioritize, I wish they would indicate that they're willing to expand, and I don't know why they're not doing this, and I get it, but I don't care about the statement. I care about whatever actions they could take. That's what I want them to do. Make something happen. Do something. What a mess. So, last thing is, this stuff is interesting, and I know that you all love the content. I watch the numbers on the show. I mean, yesterday was quite literally the most consumed singular day in the history of Locked On Pac-12. In the history of this show, I have never had more audio downloads in a day. I've never had more podcast views in a day than yesterday. And it's the biggest story in the conference because it pertains to the league's survival. So I understand as to why. But what gets lost in all of this for me, yes, I have these rants about, how to feel about this or what to think about that or what could happen in this scenario and such. And there's so many different scenarios, right? I mean, like if the Big 12 adds 3 more Pac-12 teams, well, which 3? Is it Utah, Arizona State, Arizona, and Oregon, Washington get left out? And they don't have a conference? Or do they stay with Stanford and Cal and then try to find 6 G5 teams? I don't know. There are 577 different permutations for that scenario. But what's lost in all of this is I talk about it. It is interesting. As a sports talk host, I love my job. I love my craft. I try to get better at it. I try to be the best that I can at it and give you the most insightful, engaging, and informative commentary that I can provide. That is kind of how this arrangement works. I provide that, you listen to the show, and I very much appreciate that. But if I separate that, if, as Nick Fury would say in The Winter Soldier, compartmentalize the sports talk host in me and the college football fan, I hate all of this. I do. I truly do. I don't mean the imminent demise of the Pac-12. I do. I do definitely hate that. But, I've had people comment before like, oh, what are you going to do if there's no conference and there's no show? Like, I'm not worried about that. Like, me and my takes, they're not going anywhere. I'm going to find a way to get them out there some way, somehow. I'm not worried about that. But as a college football fan, the sport that I love the most, to see it just getting submarined by greed, deception, and money, it sucks. I never wanted USC and UCLA to leave. I think that sucks. Colorado to the Big 12 is honestly the move I hate the least, because the Buffs might be a better fit in the Big 12 than they are in the Pac-12. I liked having them there because Boulder is a cool city, and Folsom Field is great on television, and the fans are awesome and everything like that. But if you want to say they're not as not a perfect fit, they never felt like they gelled perfectly within the pack. So them going to the Big 12, obviously the timing of it not ideal, but like that's not the one that I despise the most. Texas and Oklahoma leaving the Big 12. I think that sucks. It does. That there was a point in time where we had these same conversations about the Big 12 and it going like college football has always been different. That's why I'm opposed to a 12-team playoff. I don't want it to look like the NFL. I don't want it to be like the NFL. I don't want it to feel like the NFL. I don't, because it's different and that's okay. And I like having a diverse set of products. And I like having things that are different and unique and special. And college football is special. It is uniquely American, and it is the greatest thing. It is so awesome for so many reasons. And seeing the sport, I'm not opposed to change when it is positive for the sport. I like a 14 playoff. I might even be okay with a 16 playoff, not with a 12. But I'm not opposed to change. I am pro replay. I am pro more cameras. I am pro lots of I want changes to scheduling. That's always been my biggest beef with the sport. I'm not opposed to change when it betters the sport. But I don't think this all this stuff tears at the fabric of college football, and I think that sucks. I really do. It's the world that we're in. It's the one we've got. But I think it sucks. And it could have been avoided. It could have been avoided if the Pac had been able to add some schools back in 2021. But then you would still have teams in the conference going back to the point. Like, this situation for the Pac-12 could have been avoided. If they had added, what were the schools they were looking at? Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, like Oklahoma and Texas. Yeah, the Pac would be a power conference right now. Could have been avoided on that front. All this could have been avoided as well if they'd just gone and gotten, I don't know, like Houston and Texas Tech, then the Big 12 would probably still be alive. The Pac-12 would probably still be able to hang on. That's all speculative stuff. I'm just kind of spitballing here. But for many, many years, Pac-12 fans lamented Larry Scott, and it always felt like, we don't like this guy. We don't like the decisions he's making. It's not good for the league. And one day we're going to regret it. And here we are, paying for those mistakes, and the league has made more sense. And yeah, it drives content, drives ratings. Like I said, yesterday was the most watched and listened to episode and day of this show in its history and the entire time that I've been hosting it. Which is cool at some level. But there are other ways I would have rather achieved that than talking about the imminent demise of one of the conferences. And the conferences have always been so unique. The geography's always been unique. And it's pro sports to throw that to the wind. Major League Baseball has the Houston Astros playing in the American League West. They're not out west. Like, divisions don't matter. And that's where we're moving. So, anyway, wanted to share that as well. There might be another episode of the show coming out later today, depending on what happens. So appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time, whenever and wherever that may be. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.